All right, Chattacon. We are going to do comedy and fiction. And we have a nice little panel going here of writers from all ranges and walks of life. So, Dave, how about you introduce yourself first?
My name's Dave Butler. I write for adults as DJ Butler. Bain is my principal publisher. I write science fiction, fantasy. Sometimes it's funny. Hey, here's a fun piece of trivia. I'm not sure, Hillbilly, you might not have. I don't know if I've had a call with you in this office before. So if you look around at the decor, I've turned the lights off, so this is not going to work very well. Oh shoot, never mind. Okay. I'm gonna do it anyway because whatever. So that down there is green shag carpet, and that up there is white plaster, popcorn style plaster.
Oh,
and I got these little wooden rickety walls. Yeah. So fun. Completely pointless trivia fact. This house was built by a guy named Stephen R. Covey, who you might know his name because he wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which has sold an absolute shit ton of copies and like a metric shit ton of training sessions. People take the 7 Habits class. This was actually his office, and it's the only room in this house, which he built in 1958, which has never been renovated, and it is now my office. This is where I write, science fiction, fantasy, adventure stories. Is a room where the green shag carpet is full of 30 years of the dead skin cells of Stephen R. Covey.
That's one hell of an introduction right there.
That's all I got. I'm done now.
All right, Charity.
All right. I am Charity Ayres. I write a little bit of everything. My main genres tend to be fantasy or a mix of fantasy, sci-fi, steampunk, pretty much whatever kind of drives me at any given time. Most of my characters are very humor-driven, strong characters, more often female than not. Because I like to throw them in unusual situations and just really fuck shit up. So that tends to be the best approach for all of it. But yeah, I love a little bit of everything.
You're going to make editing a challenge tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, hey, take those F-bombs out. Can I throw a few more of those in there? I kind of had a long day. I need to like just... That's it.
I thought you loved me, man.
You have skills. You'll be okay.
Beep, beep, beep. Oh, my God. All right, well, let's go ahead.
Fuck you. There's you another one. Anyway, I am Christopher Woods. I write science fiction, military science fiction. I'm actually writing a Western now. I've written some fantasy. Everything I have has humor in it because it needs to be there. And it seems like everybody likes the humor, so whatever.
All right, and I am William Joseph Roberts. I write fantasy, science fiction, horror, and every other thing that the evil mind squirrels demand of me. I reckon a good spot to start with this tonight would be, what has influenced the comedy in your writing? What is one of the biggest things? I know for me, like, growing up with the proverbial 3-4 channels, and when TBS came around, we had the Three Stooges, we had Tom and Jerry in the morning while we're getting ready for school and stuff. So I watched a lot of Three Stooges, so a lot of slapstick, and then you get into the British comedy and stuff that was on PBS. So I ended up picking up a lot of that dry Douglas Adams humor, Terry Pratchett, and stuff like that. And still to this day, I love that kind of stuff. And I try to include the little snarky, sarcastic remarks back and forth, and you get the banter going on in the dialogue.
Well, you said Terry Pratchett, and that's honestly where I was going to go right away, because the first book that I ever picked up by him kind of surprised me. I don't know what I was expecting, but at the time I worked at a bookstore, and one of the other people that worked there said, hey, you like reading fantasy. I started off with, the old Dragonlance series, and, really got into it from there. And he's like, you like fantasy? Here, try this. I was like, all right, no problem. I read it and I was like, what the hell is going on here? And it was, I want to say it was, shoot, I can't even remember what the first one was, but I know years later I got his children's book, which if you've ever, I think it's called Where's My Cow? Something along that lines. And it is the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life. And I tried reading it to my daughter when she was like 2, and I was snorting laughing the whole time. Couldn't even make it through the book. And, you know, things like that. We always go back to writing what we enjoy reading.
Mhm.
So finding something that really made me laugh out loud and would continuously make me laugh out loud every time I picked it up, I wanted that in my writing. I wanted people to sit there, you know, I wanted one day to walk into like a coffee shop or, you know, a library or whatever and see someone reading one of my books and just watch them snort, because to me that is the best thing in the world, you know, just that laugh out loud, you can't help it, you know. And when we do it, when we find those books that's what it does to us, you're kind of embarrassed, like you do that and then you look around like, did anyone see me? And then you go back to what you were doing. But I want to see that happen. So I think that's kind of an essential thing. I write what I want, you know, what I want to pick up. So
Dave.
You know, it's interesting. I'm trying to think of what books that I read. So actually, I think that directly the answer is probably the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like for me, I think I tend not to write things that are purely comic. Grail Marcus, music critic, wrote a book about Bob Dylan called "The Old Weird America." I think it was originally an essay in like I don't know, some national magazine, and it was like Invisible Republic, but it was a book called The Old Weird America, and he talked about Bob Dylan. And one of the things he said about Bob Dylan is you don't understand Bob Dylan unless you realize that he is always joking. And I think that's actually, I've never, there's nothing I've written that doesn't have some element of humor, but it's not wacky. So the, you know, what's the comic fantasy? I read Terry Pratchett late. I read a couple of books of his only a few years ago. But I read the Skeeve and Oz books, the Myth series by Robert Asprin is the comic fantasy that I recall reading, and I was really into fantasy, right? I mean, I read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy a few times too, right? So it's probably those two. But I don't write like that. But I do use humor, I think, in the way sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark does. It's not a funny movie, except it is funny, right? I mean, it's an adventure and it's scary, but the humor is used to sort of constantly undercut the tension, even undercut the romance, sort of kind of ground you again in the fact that, hey, we're having a story here, and you can enjoy it even if, you know, you're scared a boulder is going to smash the hero or he's going to be drowned on the submarine. Or
you get a lot of dark humor in Indiana Jones too.
Yes. But I'm thinking about it like humor as a beat, humor as a way to control pacing, humor as a way to you know, to undercut tension so that you can make the tension go even higher
Okay.
in a scene is like, honestly, that's probably a bigger influence on my writing than Hitchhikers or you know, Myth, whatever the Myth book titles are, I forget. Myth Perceptions, Myth Directions, Mything Inc., right?
Okay.
Yeah.
However much I loved them, and I really did, and I read them a ton.
Woods.
Most of my inspiration for a lot of my humor is my family. I am surrounded by sarcastic assholes, and you can tell. I mean, it's just the way it is. And I do a lot like Dave said. I put humor inside the action. I put soldiers bantering with each other. You know, it's not complete ridiculous humor Well, until we did Smuggler's Run anyway.
Yeah, until Smuggler's Run.
Which was really kind of fun because we actually got to cut loose with all the humor, and it was a fun book to write. But typically, I write the banter between the characters. I write, and just like Dave said, you can cut the suspense and everything down a little bit with the humor so that you can build it up a little higher, and you can go further. But I started probably first books I read were Piers Anthony and Pun Master. So I mean, I got a grounding in humor right off the bat, and then like I said, my family they're friggin' insane anyway. So,
well, now with Piers Anthony, the Incarnation series, I mean that wasn't total over the top comedy. That was a lot of hidden comedy in there, and a lot of just side comments and things like that, and snarky bits.
Well, his Xanth books weren't either. I mean, there was seriousness to it, but the names and the stuff that he comes up with to describe the scenery and everything's a friggin' pun.
Yeah.
But as far as, he still tells a really good story while he's doing it. But, that's just one of the things that inspired me. And then, like what inspired Smuggler's Run, Ice Pirates and all the B-rated space movies that I watched as a kid. We tried to put all that stuff in there, and I think we might have.
Oh, God.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Maybe.
Xanth is another series I read a lot as a kid, although that's not a style I've ever written. You know what? There's another kind of thing I do with humor, and I don't know where I got this. Surely I'm ripping somebody else off, someone much better than me. But I hide through the fourth wall jokes all over the text of books. So there's in the Witchy War, there's a running Elvis joke, and there's there's an Incredible Hulk joke, and in book 3, a character named General Lee says that's just a little bit more than the law will allow, right? And a person of a certain age. And I think it probably takes you right out of the story, right? Because it's ridiculous.
But that's one of those good spots, though, to where you get a good gut chuckle for a second, then you go right back to it.
Well, yeah. That's the best way you can kind of throw it in there, is you get those sneaky little moments that just kind of throw the reader off for just a split second, enough that they get that laugh where it's, you didn't expect it.
Yeah, but then they start looking for it in all the others.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, no. I mean,
Look for the Easter eggs.
Well, John Drake. John Drake. Okay, I've already published 3 of his, and he's working on a sci-fi one right now. And his naming conventions are just like sarcastic takes. Like in Making Man, his main character's name is Cobble. And the whole thing is about this caveman engineer who cobbles things together. And, that's his naming convention all the way through the book, with the different locations and different characters. It's all tongue in cheek, but he's also heavily influenced by Adams and Pratchett too. I love hiding Easter eggs and those little things like that that'll make somebody stop and giggle, snort, or a total what the frick moment, that it might throw them out, but they'll be like, wait, what? And they're going to want to know what's going on at that point with the little hidden innuendos and things like that. You got a hidden story within the story.
And I get emails from people who are like, is this a Creedence Clearwater Revival reference? And I say, of course it is. You know what else I really loved as a kid? And I think this has been influential on me. Our Remo Williams, the Fred Ward movie, but also especially The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, God.
Right? Like that kind of deadpan one-line humor, where the doctor has been shocked by the electrodes and licks his hands. or no, Buckaroo has. He looks at his hands and shows it to the doctor and says, "What is this?" And he says, "It's your hand, Buckaroo." And like I just want to fall down laughing every time. And
Well,
I've seen it like 1,000 times.
Yeah, that's like right along the lines of like Red Dwarf too. You get a lot of that similar comedy right there. Most of the '80s stuff, I mean, I definitely pull a lot from it, and the if I could talk, the delivery of the actors, and usually whenever I'm writing, I don't know about I know Chris pictures actors and stuff as his characters. I don't know if you do, Dave, um, but I usually have them in place and playing their characters in my head as I'm writing these scenes out, and I can, I already know how their voice is going to sound and how the attitude is going to come off and stuff.
I did once.
You did once?
I did once. There was the guys in my writing group swore up and down by this plotting software, and now I've forgotten what the name of it is. And one of you will probably say, "Oh, it's such and such." I forget. Anyway, it's this plotting software. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll. So I download the software. It's like $300 or whatever. And the one of the features is you get to cast people. So you go find pictures on the internet or actors or whoever, and you go, "Oh, this is what Etienne looks like, and this is what Paul looks like." And I did that, and then I could never figure out how to work the damn plotting functions. So that was all I did. And then I just wrote the book, the way I wrote every book. But yes, I've done that one time. So if you cast a funny actor in your head, do you write the character funnier?
Depends. I mean, I at least get their body actions, their
mannerisms
and stuff like that in my head. So, I use them as my analog, so I'm not having to create something from scratch. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Flux Runners. Everyone in that book, I know them. I Tuckerized like half of my family for that book, and it just made it that much easier to write the scenes and be able to know what they're going to say in the interaction with each other, because I've seen them interacting. So it works for me.
Smuggler's Run is the only one I've actually ever pictured anybody in, because he mentioned what's the guy's name again? For Van,
Sean William Scott.
Sean William Scott. And as soon as he said that, I remembered the rundown, and it's got the friggin' Rock and Sean William Scott, and from that point forward, that's what I saw. Whenever I wrote a scene with Van, I remembered that movie, and I was like, "Why so violent?" So it influenced how I wrote the character when I was writing him. But typically, I don't match anybody up to my characters, because I want everybody. I don't want to describe a character completely. I want everybody to actually build that character in their head to where it can be more personal to them.
That's why I usually rebel against my cover artist putting a face on a character, is because I'm like, I don't want you to tell the reader what to see. I want them to visualize. I want them to build this character in their head as they go, because the perception's not always going to be the same. You might see a little taller, you might see a longer nose, you might see, whatever, a more youthful face, or you might see the age going on the face, whatever it happens to be. You want them to build those constructs. You don't want to influence it too much. I mean, you want to give them that base, that here is the ground level, here is your, here's your paper doll with, your cutouts, and you put on what you think goes there. So
I agree. That's the reason I do the same thing in the stories. The description of my main character in Soul Guard was he's 5'8", blonde hair, green eyes, and that's about as much as I put to it.
Now, when you're working on your scenes, and do you intentionally put comedic elements in there, or is it just free thought and it's created?
With me, it's free thought. It's as I write the scene, if something sounds funny in the dialogue, okay, that's going in there.
Yeah, I don't think you can build too much in advance because it's like trying to do a really long setup for a joke. It just fails. It doesn't work when you spend so much time wait, I have something really funny to tell you. I'm gonna tell you it's so funny, you're gonna love it. And then by the time you're done, they're like, no, that's no.
There's one exception to that because we have a list and it did work sort of.
Depends on the kind of joke, I think. So, I mean, I've written middle grade stuff too, and sometimes, you know, middle grade books are kids like to read zany and improbably comic stuff, and you know, I got a scene in the book where I knew that the scene had to end with the kid running out of school with his pants full of ants and running out of the ditch behind the school and taking his pants down and discovering he was standing next to his class in line because of the fire drill. Right. And so that was, I mean, there was nothing spontaneous about that. Had to build up to it. Dialogue is usually, usually I don't think of jokes and dialogue and look for a place to plant them. Usually that grows out between the characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, actually, I haven't. This was not cast as a movie, but I sort of borrowed a character persona from another book that sort of affected the humor. So I don't know if you've read Charles Portis's book, True Grit, the novel.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
So it is better than either movie. Okay, I like both the movies. The novel is better than either Jeff Bridges or the John Wayne. The basic shtick of the novel is that the point of view character is having this. I think it's like 1870s or something, having this adventure on the border of Indian lands, Texas, Arkansas, kind of whatever, among seriously rough and despicable men. But she's describing it to you as she is a 70-year-old spinster using this sort of church lady voice. And so nobody cusses, even though you know that these guys are swearing up a blue storm, and they all have real proper diction as they're saying outrageous things. And so, like, I really loved the way Rooster Cogburn, the John Wayne, Jeff Bridges character, talked in that. And that was, I had read that when I started writing Witchy Eye, and that was, I find that intrinsically funny that someone would speak in a sort of deliberate and articulate way in avoiding contractions and then beat the shit out of you, or, you know, you know, commit murder. And that's actually sort of that humorous tension was the beginning of the character William Lee in Witchy Eye. So I didn't cast a movie exactly, but I sort of stole a riff.
Okay. That almost makes me think of the intro for the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. As he gets into that little bar and he goes into this big spiel and then just commences to whooping everybody's ass in the place.
Well, and I think subversive humor like that, you'd be surprised how far it goes back into literature. You know, this is my English teacher and me coming out. My students are working with the Odyssey right now. And there is this point towards the end of the Odyssey where there's like a pan out pause with Odysseus, and he's like doing the hero pose, and I'm snickering as I'm reading this to my kids, and they're just like, what is going on? Because you get that odd twist of something that catches you, because it's like, this is so outrageous that it shouldn't be like this, and you get that just little bit of humor. And again, sometimes it's just down to perception, because I'm sure, you know, Homer wasn't intending for that to be funny. He was intending it to be this big spotlight hero moment, but it's just this odd little bit of subversive humor that sneaks in.
Well, cool. And it's been a while since I read Canterbury Tales. I remember there was one character that kept popping up in multiple stories. And it's like the character ended up being the whipping boy, even though it was just a background side character.
I can't remember.
Like I ever read that.
It's been a long while since I read Canterbury Tales. It's a good set of stories. It's just very long, and you got to get through the Old English if you get the right copy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It takes you a minute. It's one of those that sometimes you have to go back for a second read just to pick up on some of the aspects that are in there.
Yeah, and
It's like Shakespeare. Shakespeare's little bits of humor that he sneaks in and his insults. And I try not to point it out to the kids because some of them are completely inappropriate for my students.
Shakespeare is filthy.
Oh, yeah, he's so bad.
Shakespeare's
He is
got
absolutely
potty
bad.
mouth.
Yeah.
Contemporary
And
readers
it's
often
constant sex
feel
jokes, like constant.
Oh yeah.
Come on, moderator.
I
Do that for us.
You can
I've
ask questions too, Chris. I'm trying to think of questions.
I've had a long day. Shush, Chris.
I've been huffing paint all day. I don't think I need to be asking any questions.
Really
Well, see,
fun.
then you should be all kinds of conversational right now. My kids have kind of sucked out the conversation from me because I spent all day doing like wild hand gestures and sword fights and, you know, all this different stuff to a silent scream. I am not meant to teach to silence. It just does not work for me.
I painted a closet.
Oh,
Nice.
that was exciting. I like it.
So what age do you teach, Charity?
I teach high school students.
Do
So,
you have-
right. Go
Do
ahead.
they ever generate humor for you? Do you ever feel like, oh, this person did something funny?
Yes.
A one-liner, a prank? Yeah.
Yeah, there are points, and it's usually completely unintentional on a kid's part, and I will just start laughing. But I'm kind of the odd teacher. You know, I'm not, and I hate saying that because all teachers are kind of weird. Honestly, they are. They're a little strange. You have to be, because you have to have a sense of humor about different things. You have to.
have you met some of our author friends?
I know. The best description that you can get of a teacher is that we are performing to an audience, because you are. You know, you have to know your audience. You have to be a stage presence. You have to be able to kind of get things going. But I'm one of those people, like, I have no shame. And I tell my kids flat out, I'm like, good luck offending me, and good luck embarrassing me, because those two things are not going to happen. I will die a dramatic death on your desk in front of you just to make a point in class. I don't have a problem with that. But it's usually a kid will ask some random question and I'll just start snickering. You know, like they'll say something, my brain will either go to a bad place that I cannot share with them, and I'll start laughing. I'll be like, hold on, I got an answer for you, but just hold on for a second. Or they'll say something and the rest of the class will kind of look like, you know, because you always have that one kid that asks so many questions until at one point the rest of the class just kind of goes. And they just stare the kid down, and I'm usually up there laughing at that point. I'm like, I don't have to answer you anymore. Your classmates will tell you what you're doing wrong right there. So yeah, I do love teaching.
All right.
It's a pain, but yeah.
I got one. What moment inspired a comedic bit in one of your writings in real life? One of those moments that just sets off a scene and you end up writing it in. Like, we were up here the other day, and I don't even remember who, Maya, the editor did Smuggler's Run. She's been posting all these memes, and she's doing these visual earworms. So, you know, here's a image from this movie or that TV show or whatever. And one of them just spurred this little idea because I could hear the song. I could hear it rolling. And next thing you know, I'm running through the house rambling and going off, well, this will happen, that happened, and this happens, and this over here goes, and everybody's just looking at me like I'm absolutely insane.
Is that when you called me?
No, maybe.
That sounds right. That sounds just about right.
And well, now the worst part is I've had those moments in like McKay's books. We'll be over there and I'll just see a cover, or I'll see somebody standing down at the end of the aisle, and it's just, and I'll start talking to Meg, and tell her, hey, this guy, he did this and he's going to kill that guy, but that person's going to see it. And I just go on this whole tirade in the middle of a store and people are staring at me. Say, okay, it's time to leave. But it ends up working in the scene where I'm working or adding it into.
I know I'm trying to find a place to use one that my brother pulled. It was years ago. We were in Florida building houses. He came down from, he was in the military. He came down and stayed with us for about a month while he was on leave. And he decided he'd help us build houses. So we're up on top of the house, nailing plywood down. And I look over there and he's standing there and he's got these nails in his hand and he's pulling nails out and putting them back in his pouch. And I got closer and I looked and he was pulling all of them that were aimed the other way. And he was putting them back in his pouch. I said, what the hell are you doing? He said, those are for the other side of the house. Deadpan serious. Those are for the other side of the house. And I'm just dying to write that scene, but I haven't found a place to put it yet. But yeah, that's my brother.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to think. Okay, so two things come to mind. There was, and I don't remember which story I put this in. There's a random point where a character is doing something and off to the side, there's a little old guy that walks past in one of the hospital gowns with his butt just flapping away. And that was because my dad did that when he was going through treatment, you know, for his cancer treatment. He did that in the hospital, did not care at all because that's just the way my dad was. The other thing is Madcap. Madcap was originally a short story. I'm trying to think of the song and it just left my brain because it's the end of the day. It's the In Your Head. What's in your head? It's Zombie.
Cranberries, zombie,
yes,
yeah.
Cranberries. That was what started that story. I had that song stuck in my head for like 3 days and all of a sudden I'm like, Jim, what's in your head? And that was all that kept coming out because Jim
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it makes sense, but it was a weird thing.
I do a lot of stuff based on songs. So, you know, I'll hear a song, I'm in a scene. You know, my iPod is filled with all the songs that I've written to. And all I got to do is push one button and I'm completely lost in the scene.
Yep.
So, I mean, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I'll hear one song and then all of a sudden here comes this scene coming up that I hadn't thought of before.
Yeah.
But then from that point forward, that song is that scene.
Yeah. And at least you didn't go spiraling down the hick hop trail.
No, I did not.
That's your fault.
I'm sorry I showed you that.
Yeah. Wildcat, I have to listen to hick hop for Wildcat now. It's just that's what it's like
awful.
Locked into.
It's pretty awful.
Have you listened to that, Dave?
No, is that
it's the redneck rapping.
Yeah, country rap.
Something like Gangsta Grass, for example?
Yes.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
I got 2 albums by them. It's that could be awesome.
One of the guys that works with us with Chris Kennedy Publishing is Kevin Steverson.
Yeah, the Salvage Universe, or
yeah. He manages, or he's a roadie or whatever.
No, he's the road manager for Cypress Springs, and I started listening to them, and then next thing I'm going down this spiraling tangent of YouTube, listening to all of the stuff that was like that. Which Demon Jones, he's actually got some good stuff.
Whatever,
but that's what the fuel was for Wildcat. I got into that zone and just ran with it.
I feel like music is an essential part of writing. I don't know. I mean, it might just be like ADHD because, you know, you have to shut off the other stuff, but I have to have different playlists. And I've gotten to a point where I can actually, like Chris was saying, I can map out, okay, well, when you're reading this book, if you listen to this song right here, you'll kind of feel how it lines up. You'll feel that pace, you know, you'll catch what was going on while I was writing it. So
I almost put links in the last book that I did for Chris Kennedy to songs at the chapters that influenced it. I almost did it, and I talked myself out of it. I think it would be a really good idea if you find like their official YouTube video or whatever, and say, play this song now while they read the scenes. And I came that close to doing it.
I've actually picked up a couple of books at this point where at the end, the author said, "Here is my playlist from this novel." And I thought it was so interesting.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Dave looks bored.
No, I'm trying to think. I 100% have experienced, like, had a spontaneous humor happen around me and then written it. And I cannot think of a damn instance to save my life.
It's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah. Here's something that happened a year ago that I have not yet put in a book, but want to at some point. I was, this kind of gets back to our earlier conversation. I was dropping my car off at Jiffy Lube. And I was going to walk to my office, which was like a block away, and they would call me, when whatever it was done. And she said, "Okay." The clerk said, "Give me your number." And I said, "Blah blah." She said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Dave." She said, "Is that spelled D-A-I-V?" Which, we're a country of immigrants, but
Okay.
She really didn't look like she really looked like she was born and raised, and she sounded like she was like from this country, and somehow she thought D-A-I-V was the natural spelling of Dave. So I told her yes.
Of course. That's always the best approach.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now I gotta ask. Do you get sick of hearing Dave's not here?
No, it's fine. That's fine. You guys aware of the anthology of Daves that Bain put out?
Yeah,
yes.
we did a Chris anthology with Chris Kennedy because
that's right. Afterwards, yeah. So Dragon Con 14 months ago or whatever, right? Because the last one was virtual. David Afshararad actually wrote a song called "These Are the Daves of Bain," which is a rewrite of "The Kids in the Hall, These Are the Daves I Know."
Oh God.
and I was gonna play it. We were standing for the whole time. I had my electric guitar, and it's just a little kind of 3-chord, "These are the Daves," and then David Weber, David Drake, whatever. And then John Ringo and his co-writers talked so damn long that we could not go. So we prepared a musical comedy act to entertain, and we were shut down.
That's so sad.
Yeah,
it
was
that
like,
would have been great.
It's like me being guest of honor last year at Fantasy. That really would have ignited my career, and that not happening means I am in the dark timeline.
Your career's like way up there compared to ours, but
it's all glamour. It's all trick.
You're an official Bain
Smoke
author,
and
man.
mirrors.
You're one of those Bane guys, dude.
That's true. That's why I have a hat.
Okay, all right. Back to comedy.
Oh, yeah.
SCTV or Saturday Night Live?
Since I don't know what SCTV is,
I know. I was going to say.
I'm going to say it was Saturday Night Live.
I'm going to say Letterkenny.
What? You guys don't?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my God, that's where John Candy and Rick Moranis and SCTV. That's where so many of the stars and movie stars that we know started.
That was probably back when I didn't. It probably is.
Those guys all Canadian?
It was the Canadian version of Saturday Night Live. They were like right across the way from each other.
So it was a Canadian hillbilly thing.
More or less. Well, okay. The was it the Doug and
McKenzie brothers?
Yeah, the McKenzie brothers. They're from SCTV. Oh crap. Martin Short played the character. He had his pants up to here with the alfalfa spike.
That like Poindexter-y looking thing. I can't remember what he was either.
Oh, I can't remember the name of, but that was from SCTV. John Candy's Grizzly Abrams skits. I love those.
I saw Strange Brew. but I'm not familiar with SCTV. It may have been back before I got a TV.
Maybe. Well, I mean, it was back during the early 80s.
Well,
They probably didn't air it in South Dakota. Sorry.
Second City Television.
Do what now?
Second City Television. SCTV is an abbreviation.
Yes.
From
No, I've
Toronto.
never.
Yeah.
Was it
Late 70s.
is it late 70s?
Yeah, 76 to 83, 84.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the time frame when we had like 5 channels in my house. So no, probably
Yeah,
not.
I used to watch SCTV on PBS because they would broadcast it on there, just like I watched Doctor Who and Tripods and all this weird British stuff.
I ate mud. That's about what I was doing around that time. So
At least you're honest. What time is it? I should have enough to put together something for him now. Well, I mean, we've been going for right on an hour.
I killed the whole interview.
I ate mud. Yeah, that was it. You just
the end. Can't top
I ate
that.
mud. It's over.
I looked at the clock, man.
I'm just gonna pull the pin. I'm gonna pull the pin.
Do it. Do it and be glorious about it. Okay, so I guess go around and what's your latest thing and where can we find your stuff?
All right, I'll start. You can find any of my stuff on theprofessionalliar.com. The latest book that's come out is Smuggler's Run, which I co-authored with that idiot over there, Hillbilly.
What?
And don't even deny it. Don't deny it.
Where's the love, man?
Anyway.
that was love.
And it's loaded with all kinds of crazy ass humor. So people who are watching this panel will probably enjoy it. And like I said, professionalliar.com. You can find any of my stuff there.
Charity.
Okay, my most recent was Madcap, and eventually Madcap 2 will be out, which is lovely and wonderful, and pirate humor, sarcasm, zombies, and craziness, which I love. It is through Three Ravens Publishing. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. Eventually it will be an audiobook, so you can kind of find it a little bit of everywhere. It's beautiful and hilarious, and I love the character because she falls on her face way too much. It's wonderful.
Dave.
You know what? I just remembered a joke that I actually said to my wife, and then I put it in a book. Triggered by this question. So my next thing out is called The Jupiter Knife. It actually comes out in, is a pre-release, is my copy, whatever, it comes out in like 2 weeks. Which is it's a 1930s urban fantasy series about a sugar beet farmer who also uses traditional American magical lore to fight the demons of the Great Depression. That's book 2. Book 1 is The Cunning Man. There's a joke in here that actually, okay, so Hiram Woolley is a farmer and he's a good guy and he's smart, but he's, you know, he's not extremely verbal. He's not glitteringly smart, and his adopted Navajo son is really aggressive and is really also he's an atheist and deeply secular, and there's a lot of tension between Michael, 16 years old, kind of always eating at his father, and his father hiding from his son the fact that they're fighting demons using his father's magic. But there's a scene where Hiram and the mine foreman are just getting needled by this boy, very smart, aggressive boy for at length. And the mine foreman turns to Hiram and says, "Just remember, men with stupid children wish they were smart." Which is something I said to my wife once after experiencing a similar barrage for our own children. So there's an example of a joke that, like, you know, the last minute pulled it out that I took from real life and put into a book.
I feel like we need applause for that one. That was awesome.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was good.
Wait, Cunning Man just came out last year, didn't it?
Yes, slightly more than a year apart. It came out November 28, 2019. So they're like 13 months apart. Something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
And then you can find my stuff at williamjosephroberts.com or over on 3ravenspublishing.com. And my latest is co-authored Smuggler's Run with that thing down there.
That
Go
guy.
love.
That
Go
guy.
love.
The guy in the
guy
Hawaiian
who
shirt, man.
The guy who ate dirt. That's
Yeah,
ate
mud.
mud. I'm
Mud.
sorry,
I hate
mud.
mud. And we're
My
about to
bad.
start the next Smuggler's Run book too.
Yeah,
in
2
about
weeks.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, we wrote like half of the first one in a weekend. So hopefully this one goes just as good.
Dude, that's the way to do it. Don't
Yeah.
don't yoke yourself into like a multi-year process. Write the damn thing.
We had
Yep.
a blast too. And it was pass
Yep.
it off and wait and just like, what the hell did you just write? But all right, Chattacon, thanks for having us. And we'll see you next year.